Hello and welcome to the first reading vlog of the new year. I am so excited about this one because in this reading vlog I am going to read the best books of 2022. Like a lot of other people, I love reading end of year like content, favourite books of the past year. I've also been reading a lot of lists by kind of bookish like platforms or websites or accounts which combine the best releases of the past year. So I've been doing some research, looking at a lot of lists. I've been kind of keeping a tally of all the books that have appeared on those lists. And then I came upon a LitHub article and saw that they did all of that for me already. So they've done a list of all the lists that are out there. And they told you all of the books that showed up the most amount of times. So all of my research previous to finding that list was for nothing, but I should have just known. LitHub is that bitch, it is that good. So I ended up picking 3 books that have been really popular last year, that I'm also somewhat interested in, and that have appeared a lot of times on those lists. How many times can I say list? Oh my god. So firstly, there's Trust by Hernan Diaz. I'm sure you've seen a lot of people talk about this in kind of the end of year content. Oh my god, I was so blue beforehand. Now I think the white balance just sorted itself out and now I'm just normal coloured again. Sorry about that. Unfortunately, my library only had like the horrible cover. The other one, which is this one, is a lot nicer. But beggars can't be choosers, so I had to take this one. All of these books that I ended up picking out have one thing in common, which is that I don't know much about them at all, but I do like going into a book mostly blind. So the only thing I really know about this is that it's split up into 4 parts, 4 stories. It's kind of a story within a story within a story, and from all of the point of views you get a different perspective, obviously. From what I understand, they're all talking about the same events that happen, although I'm not sure about that. I know that it's set in the 1920s in New York, which again is something that I wouldn't usually pick up. I'm not a historical fiction reader at all. It's about finance, again, not my thing. But the amount of times that I've seen people talk about this and people with similar reading taste to me talk about this, it gives me hope that I could also enjoy this. The next book, which is probably going to come as no surprise to anyone, is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This and Trust have come up the most amount of times by far in everything I've seen, all the lists that I've read, and also on the LitHub article, it's come up in 14 lists. It's said in the article that they've done obviously their extensive research, and some of the lists include the New York Times 10 best books of 2022, Barnes & Noble's best books of the year, NPR, Amazon, like all of these big like booksellers or book platforms. They were basically taken from those websites. So Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I'm probably going to get sick of saying that very soon. I know that it's a friendship story about 2 people that meet in their childhood. I think they meet in a hospital. I know that it's about video games, and I know that it's basically everyone's favourite book of 2022. Unfortunately, this one and the next one I haven't got with me yet. I put them on hold at my library quite a while ago, especially this one. I put this on hold ages ago, and it's meant to have been returned to the library the day before Christmas, and it still hasn't been returned. So I'm not sure if the person that currently has it is ever going to return it, because it's been a while. If not, I'm just going to either buy it or going to read it on my e-reader. And then the third book that I'm going to read for this vlog is The Candy House by Jennifer Egan. This was also very highly ranked on the LitHub article, coming up in 12 lists. Again, one I don't know much about. I'm pretty sure this was also on Obama's best books of the last year list. I think he does these most years. From what I've gathered, this is about memory, about a tech entrepreneur, but I think it's also about combining people's memory, being able to access other people's memories. It sounds very Blake Crouch to me. I've read Dark Matter and Recursion, and I'm actually literally just started reading, what's the last one? Upgrade. They all just kind of mesh into one. I feel like he's an author that does one kind of book, and I do like them, but he's like sticking with his genre. But just from the synopsis alone, it's given me Blake Crouch, so we'll see. So those are the 3 books that I'm going to be reading in this vlog. I started with Trust last night at 9 o'clock, which is already quite late for me, not gonna lie. So I didn't think I would get very far into it. Also, I'm a very, very slow reader, but I already got to page 93. I'm surprised, this is very readable. Even though when I first started reading it, I was like, oh, this is not gonna be it for me. I'm gonna have to drag myself through this. And I am aware that I'm probably not the target audience for this because I'm more of a contemporary reader usually. And this is very much historical fiction with I don't know if it's actually sci-fi or not, but I don't think it is. I'm not sure. I have no idea at this point. So I read the first of the 4 stories, and to my surprise, it was quite readable. As I said, went through it quite quickly, which I was surprised by. I do think that's because some of the language that's being used kind of went over my head a little bit, and I just decided to skim past some of the words that I just didn't understand. I don't think this is a book I can talk about very much just because of the nature of it. I think a lot gets revealed bit by bit, so I'm not really sure how to talk about this without spoiling anything. But so far we've followed a young man who made it big on Wall Street in the finance business. There's been a crash in the market, but he's really benefited from it. We also see his wife's mental health decline more and more, and they end up going to this, it's not a hospital, it's like a wellness / health facility with doctors in Switzerland, which her dad actually went to as well because they seem to have the same condition. That's really all that I can say about this without saying too much, and also because I've not read much more. But so far so good. I'm excited to see what the other stories will bring, and yeah, now that we're all up to speed, I need to actually pack my suitcase because today is Wednesday, and on Monday me and my parents were going to London as part of my dad's Christmas present. We're going on a little trip, but Thursday till Sunday night I'm actually away at work, so today is really kind of the only day I can pack and prepare for everything because our flight leaves Monday morning, so I need to pack. Hello. This angle seems a bit random. I don't know, I'm just here. It's now Sunday night. I came back from work about half an hour ago, and I wanted to talk to you about Trust because I finished it. Because I'm reading 3 books in this vlog, I'm wanting to keep the clips of me talking about the books quite short, so not as many check-ins. I finished this book 2 nights ago. I'm still not sure I stand on it really. I think it's partly due to the fact that, as I said before, I don't think I'm the target audience for this. I'm not that much into historical fiction. Also, a lot of the talk about finance and Wall Street and the ticker and everything like that, I think that went over my head a little bit, which is fine because that's not really what the book is about. This is one story that's told from 4 different perspectives, essentially, and it's about how a person's perception of a story changes depending who's telling it. And even though I think a lot of the financial references did go over my head, I did have a lot of things that I did enjoy about this. First of all, the storytelling, the playing with format of storytelling, how you can kind of trick the reader into believing one person and being connected to that story, and then kind of seeing things from a completely different point of view, thinking differently about the previous story, about the previous person, about the previous things that you were told. I don't think there's much I can really say about this without ruining any potential reader's experience, because this is a very immersive reading experience, and it was a really unique reading experience, which is one of the things that I've really, really enjoyed about this. Sorry, someone was just at my door. If the angle changed, that's why. So the first of the 4 parts of this is a slice or part of a novel in and of itself. We follow Benjamin Rask and how he made it on Wall Street. We hear a lot about his life. We hear a lot about how he is very reclusive, very kind of mysterious. People are very interested in his life, how he made it to become so big and so famous. When I opened this and saw that the first of the 4 parts of the story is a novel or part of a novel in and of itself, I was confused for a lot of this book. So really, this was not a book made for me. But I still had a somewhat enjoyable reading experience. The more I read it, the further I got into it, the closer I got to the end and have everything fall together, the more I enjoyed it. So I think I can still give it the stamp of approval and say that yes, this is probably one of the best books that came out last year. This is an objectively good book, and I think with a vlog like this, I have to be objective rather than subjective and take kind of my own opinion of the book out of consideration and think of the great good. So the next one I picked up is The Candy House by Jennifer Egan. I've only started this last night and I'm only 28 pages into it, so I can't really tell you much, but I can tell you that I was right with my prediction of that it's going to be similar to a Blake Crouch book, which can be a good thing because I really liked Dark Matter. I thought Recursion was very similar to that. And I just started listening to Upgrade and I was just not into it because it's just all so repetitive and all so similar. I do understand finding something that works and sticking with it, so no shame to Blake Crouch, good on you. But that's all that I've really got so far. Another good news, the Lost book has finally shown up from the library. Very, very excited to get to this. I'm kind of reading them in the order from least exciting to most exciting for me. Might get moved around a little bit, who knows. I'm going to read a bit of this, go to sleep, and then I'll probably see you in London. Goodbye. Back and I have finished The Candy House. I'm having a bit of a hard time remembering what I initially said about this book when I first talked about it. I do remember, however, that I compared it to firstly Black Mirror and secondly Blake Crouch. At that point though, I think I only read the first chapter, and I do think that's a fair comparison for the first chapter, but this book is very different than what I initially thought it was going to be. I thought it was all going to be about the tech industry, about memory, which it definitely is about memory, but it's more... So, let me back up. This is, I think, mostly a book about human connection, about memory, but more so about different people's lives intersecting. What I didn't know is that we get different point of views for every chapter, and every chapter is almost like a short story in and of itself. The first chapter, it opens with Bix Boughton, who is the inventor of Own Your Consciousness, which is this... I'm so sorry if you can hear my neighbours. I don't know what they're doing. Anyway, Own Your Consciousness is a sort of program where you can upload your memories, and if you do that, you can also access other people's memories that have also uploaded theirs. Bix Boughton has kind of invented this program to be able to get over his own trauma that he experienced when he was younger, and for other people to do the same. So like I said before, you get different point of views from different people. A lot of the times the different storylines are intertwined with each other. There's kind of 2 or 3-ish families that it mostly revolves around, but also different side characters who you get a glimpse into their lives. I think that's done to show how Own Your Consciousness, or being able to view other people's memories, is affecting people's lives, and how that could be like possibly in our future. But I think overall this book is about human connection, and about how human connection is still the most important thing, even when you are able to access people in different ways that you weren't kind of meant to, or weren't supposed to, or even able to previously. Especially the last chapter, I think, really shows that, and it ties up everything in a neat little bow in a way. It was quite a nice ending, I thought. So overall, this was definitely a success for me. I was intrigued kind of throughout the whole book. I was never really bored. I understand definitely why this was on so many lists and chosen to be one of the best books of last year. I definitely understand that this is kind of a crowd pleaser. I think it's something that people are interested in. It kind of gets you thinking. So, yeah, not a bad one. So that brings me to the last book of this vlog, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I've not started this yet. I've only finished The Candy House last night. So this is what's on the cards for today and the next few days. I am most excited about this one, and was most excited about this one from the start. I've seen a lot of people whose reading taste I trust enjoy this. I mean, this has been probably the most talked about and posted about book of last year. So my hopes are high. All I know is that it's about 2 people who've met when they were younger. I think they met in a children's hospital and their lives intertwine. And I know it's also about video games, which I've heard people say that there's a lot of talk about video games in this book, but even if you're not interested in that, it's still thoroughly enjoyable. So looking forward to this. Hello from my bed. I've wanted to give you an update on Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I'm almost exactly halfway through, so I feel like I've got deep enough into it to be able to say something about it. When I first started this, like the first introduction, the first little chapter, I was like, what in the John Green young adult hell is this. Just the way that they meet, it's just not the way that they meet. I'm not talking about them meeting when they were children. The narrative kind of jumps around in time a little bit from when they were younger to kind of the current timeline. But when they meet again, after having not seen each other for quite a long time, like the circumstance in which they meet and what they say to each other, I just thought, no one speaks to each other like that. It doesn't matter how quirky or different you are. No. But I'm happy to report this kind of theme did not continue. I am quite enjoying this. I'm not getting the vibe of people being like, oh, this is the best book I've ever read. It literally says on this blurb here, by funnily enough, John Green, one of the best books I ever read. It says it right here if you can see. I'm not getting that vibe yet, but it's definitely very enjoyable and very readable. I'm going through it quite quickly. So we meet Sadie and Sam, who are main characters, when they're about 18, 19. And as I said, they meet each other again after not seeing each other for quite a long time. And then we go back in time to see how they initially met in the children's hospital, because Sam has been in a really bad kind of car accident and Sadie is there because of one of her family members. And then after that, we follow their friendship and we follow Sam's and Sadie's lives. I think from what I've heard, this is a story where we follow the main characters throughout their whole lives, which I really enjoy those kind of stories. At the moment, they're, I think, in the early 20s still. They are building, or they have already built or programmed a video game that's been very successful. I do think it's true that you don't have to be into video games, even though they talk quite a lot about video games, to enjoy this. I'm definitely still enjoying this. That's all I've really got to say at the moment. I'm not blown away by anything. I think it's one that's going to grow more and more on me the more I read, and I think it's going to be one where the ending is going to be like the deal breaker. So we'll see. I'll probably update you when I finish it. End of the video. Hello, welcome. Ignore the hair. I've been having a bit of a cleaning day today, so I just scraped it up. But I finish tomorrow. I finished it a couple of days ago. I had to kind of think about what my opinion even was on this, because initially when I finished it, I didn't even know what I was going to rate it. I didn't have this overarching feeling of, okay, this is how I feel about it, this is what I'm going to rate it, this is my opinion on it. I was a little bit lukewarm on it, I'm sorry. I know that this is a lot of people's kind of recent favourite books. I know that I won the Goodreads Best Fiction Book of last year, so I know that I'm in the minority of this. Saying that, I've still got a lot of positive things to say about this. Firstly, I really appreciated the lack of romance in this, even though that obviously was a relationship in this, or kind of multiple relationships within this. That's not the centre of this, but there still was like a lot of love, but mostly that's kind of just friendship love, and I really like that because I feel like you don't see that a lot. Also, I just generally like a story where you follow the characters for a long period of time. You meet Sadie and Sam, which are the main characters of the story, when they're, I think, 10 and 11, and when the story ends, I think they're in their late 30s, so you get about 25 years of their lives, which I love that. That's why I really liked A Little Life. That's why I liked The Most Fun We Ever Had. I just really enjoy getting to spend a lot of time with these characters. Talking about A Little Life, the relationship between Sam and Marks also really reminded me of A Little Life. Marks is Sam's roommate, and he also ends up being a producer on their video games. So yeah, their relationship really reminded me a lot of Jude and Willem in A Little Life for multiple reasons. First of all, like just the love that they have for each other, and the fact that, well, I don't want to give too much away actually, let's just leave it at that. Another thing I really appreciated is the fact that the author, Gabrielle, Zevin, somehow manages to make video games seem fun for someone that's just not interested at all. Not that I was kind of wanting to start playing video games after this, but was kind of weary in the beginning because I knew that a lot of this book is about video games, but she makes you care about it because the characters are so passionate about it. And I think at its heart, this novel is about, it's about passion, it's about collaboration, it's about friendship, it's about the importance of hobbies and hobbies that you enjoy. And I think because those themes came through so strongly, I ended up really kind of not enjoying, but not caring so much about the fact that they were talking about video games a lot of the time. Another thing I want to add, I think you can really tell how much research has gone into this book. This is so detailed, and you just know that Gabrielle Zevin plays a lot of games herself and she knows what she's talking about. So I just really appreciated that. So I think you can tell that I still enjoyed this book quite a bit, and I was never really bored, but I just, you know, when a book is so hyped by so many different sorts of people with different reading tastes, you just think that you're going to love it as well. And I liked it, but I do not understand the huge hype. Saying that, I did cry at the end a little bit. I did shed a tear because it was sweet. It was quite wholesome. So that wraps up me reading the most popular books of 2022. Also, I know that that's quite a vague title because obviously everyone enjoyed a lot of different books. Everyone had a list of very different books. These are just kind of the things that I ended up choosing. I think most of these are gonna land at a 3.5-ish, which is still, that's a good reading experience. It's a good book. I was hopeful I was gonna find a favourite book here, but alas, I did not. Anyway, it was still a enjoyable and successful reading experience, I would say. I think that's everything I had to say, so I might as well just end this video. Thank you, as always, very much for watching, and I'll probably see you in my next video. Goodbye.